number, musical.
J-O-E in the place to be. J-O-E in the place to be. HB on the track, it's like ecstasy. Rowing a well of 7 years, what we drink and be. Trying to sling the dopest rhymes in the galaxy. Let me take a minute though and relax your mind. Sometimes these words can be hard to find. 24/7 on that daily grind. Hearing voices in my head, man, they not that kind. Cause bitches be bitching, snitches keep snitching. The world keeps turning, and I keep hitching a ride instead of living my life. Yo, 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 yo.
Man, when you feel hungry, don't you have to eat?
Yo, yo, pump up the volume and digest this beat.
RapScallions in the house with this lyrical treat.
When we're done with you, you're gonna ice your feet.
If the world ends tomorrow and you had one chance,
Hey, yo, would you start to move like it's your last dance?
yo, do something small in the past and present changes.
Do something now, the future rearranges.
Cause bitches keep bitching.
Yo, snitches keep snitching.
The world keeps turning.
And you start living your life instead of hitching a ride. RapScallions.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's episode 48, Rapping with RapScallions. Excellent show today. We're talking to Cesar Robles and about the National Theater. You're going to have so much fun listening. Now, Cesar's a great guy. He's good at everything. And he's also a historian, so he's going to be painting in your mind all the things that are happening in National Theater. But first, point 5 sitting next to me is Joe Mesquita. Let's start with the Rapping with RapScallions weekly wrap-up. How was your week, Joe?
Up, HB? Yeah, super happy to be here. Hard to believe that it is episode 48 already. 48 episodes strong. That is really cool. Really excited about today's show. I think it's going to be a lot of amazing information. As you said, Cesar is a connoisseur. He is an artist. He is everything in a single neat package, and he will be speaking to us later on. But first and foremost, HB, I want to tell you about my week, man, because a lot has happened since we last spoke. Of course, I was away last week because it was my birthday, so I'm 39. I'm a year older now.
Woo.
Got more gray hairs in my beard.
Yeah.
Good times, great times. But I've changed, HB. I'm a lord now. I am a lord. I wasn't a lord last time, but I am a lord now.
True. You were a Calypso lord, but now you're like a lord.
Now I'm a lord. I was fortunate enough to have some friends of mine give me an amazing gift. So it turns out that in Scotland, if you own 1 square foot of land, you are called a laird. This is an L-A-I-R-D. So this is like a landowner, and it translates to lord or lady, right? So I have now a plot of land that is 5 square feet. I have enough space there in a national park to put 2 plastic chairs. So for me and another person, of course, HB, you can come with me.
Wow.
First time when we go, we can do the show in our plot.
People out there listening, if you want to donate to do a live show from Joe's land in Scotland, go to our website, panamarp.com, and click the little buy us a coffee things and the Patreon buy now, and we'll do a show from Joe's laird, Joe.
My land.
Yeah.
But so as I said, it is a forest reserve. So, you know, when people buy this, it's to keep the forest thriving, and then, you know, they'll plant a tree in your name and all that stuff. So it's a good environmental sort of project to be involved in. So I'm happy that my name is attached to that. And plus, I got to put Lord next to my name, at least on Instagram. So other than that, I was able to see you, my friend, because I was on vacation this week, and we spent some good time having some delicious shrimp on Wednesday. So that was a hoot. That was a blast. So overall, I'm feeling pretty good, man, thankfully. Feeling pretty good. What about you, man?
We had a great time. Again, we Joe for his birthday wanted to eat shrimp, so we bought 6 pounds of shrimp. We grilled it, we cooked it, we curried it. We were like Bubba Gump with the different types of shrimp, and we had a lot of fun. I've just switched your title to Lord Joe, just so I'm not, you know, I don't want the Lord to be angry at me. So
I forgive you. Mistakes happen, but don't let it happen again.
It won't happen again. You know, your artificial intelligence was a big hit last week. Joe A filled in for you. He did a great job. We need to boost his vocabulary. But we had a good time
I saw.
celebrating your birthday. That's how RapScallions, that's how the FamScallions do it. I tell you what, man, I'm excited about our guest today, Joe.
Yeah, man. Me too. Me too. Shall we just bring him in?
We shall, ladies and gentlemen, Cesar Robles. Let's bring him in, and then we're going to just shower him with tons of applause. We got so many questions for you. I think first we're going to ask you how you are, but then we need you to tell us all the things you do, because you do so many things and you're good at all of them.
Yeah,
and I
man.
want these
Seriously.
things to be recorded for history, because, ladies and gentlemen, this guy, oh my goodness. Let's just get started. Let's get started.
So first of all, Cesar, we need to know, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing great now. I was kind of nervous. When you guys called me, I was like, "Oh Lord, I haven't done a full-on English interview or even a conversation in the longest time."
Yeah.
But this morning I was pretty excited. I was like, I've just finished a rehearsal. We are creating a new show for the National Theater, and we are in a tech week. We open next Wednesday on the 9th.
Wow.
So I was just like looking at my watch. It's like, oh, I have to be with the guys soon. So bye, guys.
That's amazing. So it's even cooler that you're streaming directly from the National Theater.
Yes, it's exactly where I am right now. It's been a great week. I'm having a great time right now. I mean, even with all the situation we're living in right now with toque de queda and all the restrictions, but it's been a great week, and theaters are mostly open. Shows are still going on, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great time.
Incredible. I love it. All right, so let's dig in, man, because I've known you for a while, and I was trying to list all the things, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to ask him. Tell us. You're good at so many things. I want to hear the whole CV.
Wow. Well, first of all, I'm a graphic designer. That's what I'm like. That's what I studied back in college. I graduated with a major in marketing and a minor in graphic design, but I never did anything of that. First, when I was fresh out of high school, I started working in a production company doing TV commercials and films and stuff like that. So that's when I started with lights. I do lighting design, but then I've done makeup, costume design, set design. Then I professionalized on automation, stage automation. That's why I studied in Spain and in Vegas. So in Panama, we don't use it, but when I was working offshore, I was working with Carnival Cruise Lines. So like any time you see something move by itself on a stage, like a revolve stage, hydraulic lift, or a line coming in or out that is controlled by computer, that's actually what I do.
Okay.
And then I moved back to Panama, and I'm working right now. I'm the artistic director for the National Theater. So basically what I do now is I create shows for the National Theater, and I direct, basically.
Oh, very, very cool. Very cool.
Yes.
Kind of. It's nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's nice. My life is nice.
If you had to pick one thing in the theater, which would be your most favorite thing to do?
That's a hard one. The thing is, like in other countries, they ask you to specialize in something.
Yeah.
Like if you work for let's say Cirque du Soleil or any other big company, you have to be a specialist. In Latin America in general, but especially in Panama, you have to know a little bit of everything.
Yes.
So it's kind of hard to pick just one thing. I will have to say that the things I do the best is lighting design and direction, like stage directions, to direct a play or something like that. So I will have to say lighting first and then to direct a play or something like that.
Okay. Very cool. And so is there anything in particular that moved you towards the theater life?
Well, actually, it was kind of fun. It's been an adventure. When I was a child, I never went to the theater. My family doesn't care much about. I mean, they are crafty and they're very artsy in different kind of ways. They do photograph and paintings and crafts and stuff like that. But none of them like either music or like performing arts. So I discovered theater when I was 18. I was taking salsa classes in tense with Gaviñazo and Lorena Castillo. And I was dancing for Teleton a couple of times. And then Bruce Queen, of course, Bruce was doing Jesus Christ Superstar back in 96. And the dancers that were on my class were part of the cast. And the bass player, Chispa Lawson, was the sound engineer for the company I was working for at that time. So he was the one who actually invited me to the rehearsal. And then I jumped in, and I was watching a rehearsal. I was sitting on the second row, and this guy was sitting on the first row. I had no clue who he was. And then he suddenly stopped the rehearsal because someone was late. And the problem was that Federico Cabrera de Lima and Jose Carranza shared the same mic. And they exit and enter from different side of the stage. In La Huaca, you have to walk all the way around up the stairs, through the dressing rooms and down the other set of stairs to get to the other side. And he was like, I cannot believe no one can pass the microphone from one side to the other. And everybody was busy at the time in that specific musical number because they were doing quick changes. And I was sitting right behind him, and I was like, well, I can do it. And he turned around and looked at me like, okay, let's try it. Let's just go out there and do it. And I've been doing theaters ever since.
That's awesome.
Wow.
What a way to get a start.
Seriously.
Arnold Ferguson is tuned in from Texas, y él quiere saber qué es lo más difícil que has hecho. What is the most difficult of the things that you do do you find most difficult?
Well, it depends. Like most of the time I do also backstage coordination for like big musicals. Actually, we have Mamma Mia coming in July, and I have to coordinate the backstage. That's I will have to say, for me, the hardest one in that area was Beauty and the Beast back in Anayansi, because there was a lot of things happening at the same time. I had to keep everything very coordinated and like in specific time frames, especially because in Panama we are a little bit more like relaxed with the things that we do. But then when I started working, I went to study in Vegas, and then I moved to New York, and then started working for Carnival Cruise Line. And there, safety first is the major rule. So one of the hardest things for me was to adapt in a different environment where you have to be strict, but you cannot be rude. Because here you still can say things that most of the time are not polite or politically correct. But then when you're working with a big company and it's like looking at your actions, and they can sue you for anything. And then you have to like move a lift once. I should not be saying this out loud, but well, it was my first week on this job, and there was a sequence with different lifts going up and down, and there were dancers in every lift. And then I released the cue beforehand, and one of the lift was half an inch off the stage level. And the dance crew walked through towards the lift and then turn around. And then when they're walking back, one of the dancers tripped.
Whoa.
And she was off the show for a month.
Wow.
With an injury. And from that moment on, I was like, I need to like focus 100%. Like this is what was like the stress level you are in during a show of that magnitude, but you have like iron flats and like revolved stages moving at the same time, and you have dancers rushing in and out in the dark, and you are in charge of the safety of everybody. I would have to say that's the hardest work that I've done.
That's very interesting. If I can just cut in real quick, HB, because I think so. Kelly Walsh mentioned on Instagram that she's heard that you're an amazing stage manager, and I think you just gave us an experience. And you were very politically correct, by the way, when you said that we're very relaxed in Panama. That was very politically correct. Very relaxed is a good way to say it. But I guess, you basically as a stage manager, and HB and I have worked with you in shows where you're just like backstage making sure everything is happening when it should happen. You're guarding everyone's safety and also ensuring that the show goes on the way it has to go on. And that's a huge responsibility.
Yes, the thing is, if you notice, I do not use the term stage manager, because in Panama, what we call stage manager is not what in other countries are called a stage manager. That's one of the biggest things. Like a stage manager, like a real stage manager, take care of a lot more of what we do here as a stage manager. So I'm here, we're more like a production coordinator than a stage manager.
Okay. Wow. What happened, HB? Something seems to be...
I made some changes. We're getting a little echo, so I made a little change. We don't have the preview anymore, but I don't think we need it now that we've started.
Okay, cool.
Some audio stuff. Cesar, you always got to press buttons in the middle of a production, right?
Exactly. Have to be flexible, that's for sure.
Yeah, you have to be adaptable.
Well, one of the reasons that I was so excited about this show, not only to have you on the show because of your wide area of knowledge and your knowledge of history, but I live in Casco, and I'm always giving tours by the National Theater. And when I'm giving tours, I always say, one day I'm going to perform in that theater. And then, I finally did it. So to me, this is a way to relive that dream come true by having you on and explaining the whole history, the renovations that you were participated in, and how you brought it up to international. I'm getting ahead of myself. Joe, help me out. I'm getting all nervous.
You're getting too nervous and excited.
Yeah.
You're getting too excited. All right, before we jump into that, because I think once we start talking about that, we can just kind of talk so much about everything about the Teatro Nacional. But I think, Cesar, you mentioned to us the most difficult aspect, I think, of what you do so far. So how about now, can you mention to us maybe your favorite theater experience so far? What has been your highlight? Considering all the shows you've been in, is there one or two particular moments where you're like, this is amazing?
Oh, wow. Work related, like in running a show, I have to say, realizing that I was working with, the company was creating a new show for one of the new cruise ships. And the creative team came in, and we were working on the installation of the show. We were back in Trieste, in North Italy, on dry dock. They were building the ship, so we were there working. And everybody say hi to everybody, start working, and then halfway through installation, like a month in show installation, then I realized the people I was working with, and it was like the choreographer for Spice Girls, and the people that create shows for Disney, and lighting designers for Universal Studios. And I was just like standing there. When it hit me, who was the people that I was working with? And we were creating a show based on films, like on the soundtracks of different films. And we have holograms and lasers and magic tricks. And we have magicians flying in from LA with new tricks and then putting it into the show. And then dude, I'm like this, regular guy from Panama. Like that I do, I hang glides for Teatro Ava. You know what I mean? And then I'm in North Italy on dry dock in the middle of a ship that they're building, and then looking around. I'm working with all this A+ team from around the world, people from Hong Kong, from Australia, from LA. I will have to say that the 2 summers I had to spend in the Mediterranean building shows for carnivals probably is the highlight of my career so far.
Wow, that is amazing. That is incredible. Wow, you must have been like, pinch me. I must be dreaming. This can't be happening. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny because it's the way we work in Panama. Like you just jump into whatever you're doing. We don't do much prep, and definitely we don't do post. We just do things, and you just jump from one show to the other, and that's how I was working there. So it just you don't know where you just say yes. Let's
Right.
do it. Let's just do it. And
Yeah.
then when you're in the middle of the production, then you're starting to realize what are you doing, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, wow.
Wow, that is really special. That is amazing. That is incredible. All right, so Cesar, then just a quick follow-up on that before we get into the topic that HB is dying to talk about and so excited to talk about. I guess my final question about Cesar, because we want to get to know Cesar first,
Yes.
is what inspires you? What keeps you motivated to do what you do?
I will have to say people.
Yeah?
People. I always say, every time I'm working with a project, I always pay attention to opportunities. Like that's why I always like possibilities. That's I would say so the possibilities that are always around the corner are incredible every time you do something or you start a new show or a new project. But actually, what inspires me is the people that are in the show, the people that are creating shows, the artists that are working with us. That's what inspires me. So I try to do my best so they can do their best.
Okay. All right. Wow, that's very cool. Awesome. Man, I love it. So much positive like vibes, so much positive, like very positive feelings, man. I love it. I love it. Okay, so HB, I'm gonna hand it over to you now so we can get the ball rolling on the Teatro Nacional.
I don't even know where to start, but I want to talk. I want the people listening out there. I would like to ask you to set the stage of what Panama was like and where we were on like the World Theater that brought about the Teatro Nacional.
Okay, so this is 1903. We just separate from Colombia. So we are a brand new republic. We are we actually are the last country in Central America that became a republic. Uh, so we are in transition from the French Canal to the to the Panama Canal, to the Interoceanic Canal. I don't know how to say in English though. So we were between the French and the U.S. Basically,
Right.
that's what's going on. So as we are a new project for a new country, quote unquote, they wanted to have everything that a big country has. So it was typical from that era, from Latin American countries to, we were Eurocentristas. We always looked to Europe as a reference. So the logic was we need big governmental buildings, almost like palaces, and we need to have a national theater in the fashion of European theaters. So we can have opera and ballet and symphonic music and stuff like that. But then there's this guy, Narciso Garay. Narciso Garay said at that time that if we were signing a contract with another country, so we'll have permanently from that moment on another culture on the other side of the Cerro Ancón, will be the American, the Zona del Canal. But at that time, the agreement it was for perpetuity, so it was like for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
So they said we have to have a business, a commercial, a political and cultural offering that should be strong enough to keep that balance level, because we will have for now on, forever and ever, another culture inside of a territory.
It's very interesting. Very interesting.
So that's how he created the National Conservatory of Music and Poetry. And that's the project that starts the National Theater.
And that's right at the beginning. Was that right at 1903, or was it a little bit later?
1903. So in 1904, they signed, in May 1904, they signed the first infrastructure law in Panama. So the president ordered the government should build roads, schools, hospitals, governmental offices, churches, you name it, bridges, all across the country. And in that list, he put a national theater. So at that time, the city was only San Felipe. So you have the wall was up until Santana. Santana was outside of the wall. So the city was San Felipe. So what they did is this theater is built on the site that was monastery. El monasterio el convento de las monjas de la Concepción. I don't know how to say that.
It sounds good in Spanish.
Yeah, it sounds wonderful.
So what they did, the whole block was thought to be part of the governmental palace that is now the government ministry that is on the south side of the plot. So, but when they start working around, they realized that there was not enough land.
That's the Ministerio de Gobierno?
Ministerio de Gobierno.
Okay.
So originally in the original plan, the Ministerio de Gobierno should occupy the whole block.
Okay.
So then they realized that there was not enough land inside of the city to have a national theater. So with the architect, this is 1905 already, they give the project to Gennaro Ruggieri as an Italian engineer. He refers to himself as an engineer, not as an architect. They give him the project to design the building. So in a visit to the plot, they decided to split the plot in half and build on the south side the governmental palace, and the other side, in the north side, the National Theater. So you have in one land plot, you have the first offices for the president, the first National Assembly, and the National Palace. So you have executive power, legislative power, and culture in the same building.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Yeah, this is quite interesting. Like for them, because it will be 2021 and you have to build a governmental office, and no doubt they will say, no, just make it all full of offices, a lot of desks. You know what I mean? And at that time they were like, well, we don't have enough land. And they were like, you know what, let's give half of our building that could be for the government. Let's give that half to culture, arts.
That's incredible.
And just to think that there was such an importance was given to culture, and particularly in that, what you were saying, that, if there's going to be another country that's going to live on our land,
right,
we need to be secure in who we are culturally.
Yes.
That's part of the speech is first of all, we need to understand who we are, where we come from, because before we start projecting that to other countries. So for me to sit down in an international venue and talk about Panama with other countries, we need to know first, what's the Panamanian? Who is the Panamanian?
And that culture is a main pillar of what a country is.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
It's your essence.
Exactly. Yeah, I think, I am a dual citizen. I'm also a Panamanian and a U.S. citizen. But as we're all artists in Panama, I think sometimes our government doesn't quite keep that notion at the front of their mind. And it's always been my dream to have the Ministerio de Gobierno leave and make a conservatory out of that half of the building that would be so close to the Teatro Nacional. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So they've decided to share their building with the theater. They've hired an Italian engineer, and what's the next step in this tale?
So in November 1905, they broke ground and they started building. So another interesting fact is part of the convent compound was we are in the north side, so we are where the huerta, the garden was, and so on the south side, where's the Ministerio de Gobierno, that's where I don't know how to say the residency of the nuns were, and the church. Okay. So when they were building the French Canal, that church that is not inside of where the National Theater is, but it's in the same plot, in the same block. That church was renovated and became the first theater in Panama. So the National Theater is built in the same place, in the same land plot where the first theater in Panama was built.
That's amazing. I love it.
And then, so 1905, they demolished everything and they started building this building. This building was a modern building, even if it's designed to look like a Renaissance structure from Italy. It's relatively new. We're only 113 years old, only. Yeah. But it was one of the first modern buildings in Panama. So it was not before that. In the Casco Viejo, all the buildings were built with wood frames and tejas de arcilla. The roofing was clay, and this building was built with concrete and steel beams. And it's not designed. The reason we don't have the original floor plans is because these projects still were not built as the same way they're built right now. They were built with anteproyectos, like we call now anteproyecto, that is just like, it's a technical drawing, but it's not like a final blueprint. And they were just make decisions in situ. They were just like making calls here and then, because we adopted the final construction blueprints from the Panama Canal construction. When they started building the Panama Canal by the U.S. government, that's when in Panama we started building with like final blueprints.
Okay, I think I understand.
Yeah. So yeah, because it's like there's a couple of drawings, but there was never an actual blueprint to build. It was just like it was a technical drawing, but all the decisions were made in situ.
Okay. So it was in one side, it was modern in that they were using modern materials compared to the rest of San Felipe, but they were still using the anteproyecto or a pre-project drawing or a proposed drawing, and then on-site making decisions as they built.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. That's what they were doing, and actually the original decor for the National Theater was Art Nouveau, because this building was built between 1905 and 1907. So inside the building was full modern. It was just the outside and the actual structure that it was designed to look older than it actually was.
Was that something that, in your knowledge, has that happened anywhere else, or is that unique to this structure that they were trying to mimic something classical?
Yeah. Well, it's the same. Gennaro Ruggeri, he designed National Theater. We were the first building. National Theater and the National Palace was the original name for the Ministerio de Gobierno. He did Palacio Municipal in Catedral, right next to El Museo del Canal.
Yeah,
the
it's a
Canal
beautiful
Museum.
building.
Yeah.
That's his Instituto Nacional is Ruggeri's
Oh, wow,
design
right.
also. And his last building here was what is now what was the INAC in Plaza de Francia.
Okay.
That it was first the Justice Palace.
Right. I think we're going to talk about that a little later.
So there's no record of any other work done by Ruggeri out other than the ones he did in Panama. We could not find any other building designed by Ruggeri anywhere else in the
Really?
world.
Man, that's amazing. And how long was he in Panama for, Ruggeri? Because he seems to have spent a lot of time here, I guess, right?
Yeah, like we're not sure, because the thing is that he became friends with Florencio Armodio Arosemena. Florencio Armodio Arosemena was the engineer in charge of supervising the construction of this building. And then later on, he became a president. He was our 5th president. And lo tumbaron. He went out with a coup.
A coup, yeah.
Yeah. So when he was basically kicked out of the presidency, all of his friends were also kicked out,
Right.
and Ruggeri was one of them.
Okay.
So we lost track of everybody, because they just pick up their stuff and then just flee.
Right.
And we don't know where they went.
Very interesting.
And as Arosemena's family, that they come here often and talk to us about the story of the family, the history of the family. They said that when Florencio Arosemena was taken out of the presidency, all his paperwork, all his archives, everything was left inside the presidential palace. So everything was burned, destroyed. So there was no records of any of the works they did.
Interesting.
Oh,
Okay.
gosh.
Let's swing back towards the architectural aspect of it. With your grasp of the design and history, how did that theater compare to other modern European theaters? Or does that make sense?
Yes, it's a tricky question, because first of all, this building was built right when everybody else were building modern structures.
Okay.
So, but then, like, they were taking they took some considerations, like in the decor and the decorations, like oral molding, and all the decor is plaster or concrete to prevent any fire from damaging the structure. We used to have an original fire curtain. The building was designed with safety in mind. It was a metal curtain. It was taken off like probably in the 40s and 70s, probably in the 70s. But the thing is, this theater was named Patrimonio Histórico in 1976. So from that moment on, you are not allowed to alter the structure of the building. So right now you cannot keep up to date with new technologies, because you cannot touch the building, because
so you're frozen in time.
Heritage. Yeah. So that's basically what happened, but in the 70s. In the US, what they do is you make a building national patrimonio histórico. You protect the building.
National
Heritage.
Yeah, national heritage.
National heritage. You protect the building by sections. So you protect the facade, or protect the staircase, or protect the public spaces. That way, technical space can keep up. So, like, if you go to the New York library, the public spaces are protected, but all the archive is not. So you can change and build and rebuild and reshape every time you need. And like, they took I think most of Bryant Park underground is the actual library archive. Like they just started digging and going further in. We're not allowed to do that. So every time we have to change something to update technically as a theater, we have to ask for permission.
Interesting. We have a quick question from Arnold Ferguson. He's like, was the teatro completed before the coup?
Oh yes. So the theater was built between November 1905 and November 1907. But then there were some delays, and it was not open or officially open until October 1st, 1908. It was, and then we opened with Aida with an opera.
Oh, very good. Where was the main opera singers from? Were they?
No, it was it was a tour, actually, a touring company that was coming down from Central America, and they just got hired to like perform here. It's interesting because I don't like to talk about this a lot, but well, I mean, we're already here. So part of the problem that we have as a national theater is the elite of the social elite at that time. When they were planning to build the national theater, they were like always like, oh, so we can do like first class entertainment from Europe. They were always looking outside of Panama.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. There was like Panama was not a big city, right. So you don't have enough like a pool of talent. You can like pick out musicians or dancers or stuff like that. But then part of the reason the National Theater kind of failed at the beginning, it was because they were only presenting international shows, and most of the people in the country were like, we don't care, like we don't know who this guy is, and we don't relate.
Right.
And
right.
so when the city started growing towards Santana, so you have Teatro Variedades, Teatro El Dorado, their theaters built around Santana Square. They will do musical review and comedy and bingo and movies and stuff like that. So the audience will prefer to walk to Santana and have an even better time there with the family and friends than coming to the National Theater, sitting down in a boring show that you won't like anyway.
Oh, that is very true.
So when do you think the National Theater finally found its footing as far as showing things that people were attracted to come and see?
It's kind of tricky. I will say we are starting now. So what you do is like if you compare the timelines between the government, or the political aspects of the government, and then the story of the National Theater, you will see the correlation immediately. So every time a government changed into like a new government that cared less about education or culture, the National Theater will go down like immediately, and will like the building will start to decay, and nobody will want to come here. And then like in the 40s, we have the first renovation. By 1937, the National Theater became movie theater, and we will show westerns. So yes, and then on the 1940, we have the first period of Arnulfo Arias, and the National Theater was in so bad shape that he could not held like official. I want to say shows, but not all the official activities are
official events.
Shows, official events. Thank you.
No
official events, and then so he canceled the contract, and then ordered the first renovation, and then the government changed again, and the National Theater decayed again until 1950. And in the 50s, it was the worst time for the National Theater, and then in the 70s, they changed again, and when we have Omar Torrijos, and then he created the INAC, and he created the Symphonic Orchestra, and then the National Ballet, and Folklore Company, and he put it like artistic signaturas, subjects on the schools. It was mandatory on that moment, like to have art as part of the curriculum on schools. And then the National Theater goes up again, and then the government changed once more, and then it started to decay. And so that's why on this project they create the patronato. So now you have like a governmental body that oversees the operation of the theater, and it doesn't depend directly, because like the Ministerio de Cultura, Alcaldía de Panamá, and Autoridad de Turismo are part of the board in this patronato. So the government is part of the board, but then you have this entity, and we work as a non-profit organization, so that it's overseeing the functioning of the building and the programming. So now we are kind of like we do not depend directly from the politics.
Just to recap what you said to the people listening, the patronato is kind of like an independent nonprofit organization where the different cultural ministries and entities are on the board, but the operations are controlled by a nonprofit. So one of the things that it won't suffer from is a change in government and a change in politics. You have the same people running it day to day, but with the boards and the ministries still making major decisions. Maybe I'm jumping ahead, but a lot of people recently, especially in the Zonian groups, have been asking about the Teatro Balboa. They're like, and everyone thought.
Thanks, HB. You just ruined the interview.
That's right. It's been a pleasure, guys. See you.
Well, we're talking about patronatos now. And just to clarify for everyone out there, can you please give some fresh air, because there's a lot of misinformation that they're going to tear it down and build a big courtroom there, and I just want to take this opportunity just to clear it out, because right now that's the hot topic.
Truth.
Yeah. So yes, when we took into the project of renovating the National Theater, first we looked into Teatro Balboa. That was the first project we developed like 3 or 4 years ago. The reason we didn't do Teatro Balboa was because we could not have both theaters closed at the same time. So we started with the National Theater that was in worse shape, and the idea was once the National Theater was done, they could start with Teatro Balboa, that is our amazing Art Deco building. And actually, the company we work with, Theater Project Consultant is an international firm that they designed this type of project. They were more interested in working in Teatro Balboa than the National Theater.
Interesting.
But the thing is, so that project is still there, and the Ministerio is not throwing that. They're just not starting yet. What they did is they decided, for some reason, it's mystery, that it was important at this time to give that space temporarily to the Justice Department, because there's a couple of procedures that are coming, that the amount of imputados, I don't know, like people involved, it's huge. So you have 50 people, I don't know, acusados, I'm saying imputados, but I don't know how to say it in English without, I don't know the terminal, the legal term.
Yeah, just say the people involved in the case is just bigger.
So you have 50 of them, and then each one of them have 6 to 8 lawyers. Jesus. So it's just, and then you have the general attorney and the judges and the jury. I mean, if you ask me personally, there's other venues. Like you have Figali, and then you have the new
Yeah.
convention center, and then you have La Huaca. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
you have Megapolis.
Yeah.
There's a lot of space everywhere
I
else.
just think my personal opinion is that there is a organo judicial across the street, right there next to Stevens Circle, and I think they just thought the proximity was like, well, we need it now. Let's
It was
see how do we
much
make
more
this happen. Now,
comfortable for them,
yeah.
convenient.
But you know what? It's even weird. Oh, so to like just to clarify, it's supposed to be temporary up until December. The first now we have the first question is because the first procedure was already postponed till March next year. So now we don't know, but no, they're not dismantling the building.
Okay.
They just moving like desks and archives and different type of furniture to have the procedures inside of the theater.
Okay.
It's kind of weird because you know what I'm like. You have the inclination of
Yes.
the audience, and then you have the seats. I don't know where you will put desks and papers and photocopies, and you know, like I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah.
But it's not. No, they are not giving away the building. They're just letting the Justice Department use it for a couple of months until they finish uh, with the procedures.
Now is
How
that
long the procedure will last?
yeah,
That's
Who
the big
knows?
question.
right? It's taking this long to even bring it up, right? But is the Teatro Nacional under patronato as well?
Teatro Balboa.
Teatro Balboa, no.
Yeah, the Teatro Balboa, no.
No, Teatro Balboa it's a part of the Ministerio de Cultura.
Now you said that there are plans to in the future to do renovations. Are those plans ostensibly still on the drawing board?
It depends on them. I mean,
On the current
it
situation.
depends on the money. They have to get the money, and then you have to close down the building for at least 2 years probably, because you have to change the roof and change the AC, and then you have to rescue the paintings on the walls. There's a lot of, because one of the things they did on the last renovation, I mean, when they let TVN use the space, TVN changed the roof, and it was part of the deal. Like the roof was in pretty bad shape, so TVN said, "Okay, let me use the building for my live shows, and I will repair the roof and I will change the whole thing." But then they changed the ceiling. They used to have like this beautiful plaster ceiling with circles and stuff like that, and they just removed that, and then you have like now the regular like office ceiling. It's just
Drops
terrible.
in.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm nervous about if they start letting office people in there to do office things. I don't think they're gonna care about any of the history of their surroundings, and then potentially just
You know,
ruin it.
like I try to not be part of the conversation, but as a person that is in charge of a theater, I could not, like I cannot say nothing. I have to say. I mean, I don't think it's the best idea. Though we have to clarify, it's temporary.
Yeah,
They're not giving away the space. They're just
Yeah.
letting the Justice Department use it for a while. But the theater, that's why they say the theater will remain as a theater.
Okay,
So but from now on, we will not be able to use it.
interesting.
okay.
Well,
But it's
thank
good
you.
to shed some light on that for sure. Yeah.
Thanks for that aside. Now, let's go back to the magical mystery tour. The Teatro Nacional is built. We're standing in front of the Teatro Nacional. What interesting architectural, historic things can we look at and can you paint into our mind?
Wait. Before we can answer that,
okay.
okay. Before that one, because I think this question first will lead into that.
Mhm.
When
I'm
you
afraid.
started, no, it's gonna be okay. I promise. When you started working at the Teatro Nacional, what impressed you? So you stepped in, as HB said, we're there, we're standing at it. You were like, it's your first day on the job. Cesar, here are the keys. So you walked into the front door with your giant keys, and you turned it, you opened it, you walked in, and you went. What impressed you the most?
Okay, you know what? It was not the first day because by the time I joined the team, they already started renovation. So everything was scaffolding all over the place, and you could not see anything. The dust and the sound of the construction. So I will have to say that impressed me a lot when they removed the scaffolding, and I came back the next day, and I like from one day to the other, I just reopened those doors, and then you had. I mean, it was not complete because the seating was not installed yet, but then you have like scaffolding, and you could see the ceiling, like the paintings, like just finished renovating. That and Angela Camargo is our. She's in charge. She was in charge of restoring the paintings. It was just amazing. It was breathtaking, and I forgot about it. But then, from time to time, I get the chance to see people that come here for the first time, and I can see their reactions when they go. It's not the moment you enter the building because the public spaces inside of the building are quite small, but it's the moment you enter the hall when you go through the red curtains and then you get into platea and look up, and I can see that look in their eyes, and I was like, okay, this is the first time they come here.
Wow. That is amazing. Now, can you walk us like back to HB's question, I guess? Can you walk us through some of the areas that are more sort of like that catch the people's eye a bit more when they walk in? Are there special areas where they might spend a bit more time?
Or even if we're like on the street, I know because a lot of walking tours, they walk by and they see stuff. They might not know what they're really looking at, before they even enter the building.
Let me see if I can illustrate this. Give me a second.
Okay. All right, illustrations.
So, Joe, what's your history with the National Theater? I mean, do you have any early recollections of that?
I just think coming back. Cesar back.
Okay, so as I cannot walk you through.
Oh man, look at this! This is a treat, man. We have official blueprints.
There we go.
So let's see the blueprints. Let me just find. This is the hall. This is the stage. This is the hall. So here you have the facade. So this is the building facade.
Wow.
So it's funny because the street in front of us is so narrow, you cannot appreciate the whole thing from the front. You only can see it from the side.
Wow.
So
very true.
So basically, let's see. Right now, this is how it looks right now. At the beginning, when they would just finish constructing the building, so you didn't have the little roof on top of the doors that was added in 1940. So you will only have the three doors and 4 medallions on top of the doors. So those 4 original medallions are the ones that are now on the sides. So they got moved from the front, from the center of the facade to the side, 2 on each side.
Right.
I really like from the building, and I can spend hours looking at it, the statues. So we have like 2. I think it's 2 meter high. Each statue is made, and they were made in Italy. This is the music. So you have performing arts on one side, and then you have music on the other side. I really enjoy watching the one with the music statue, even more than the other one. Don't ask me why. I don't know if it's the pose of the lady and the harp. I don't know. Like I can admire that statue for the longest time. And then on the 40s, they moved the 4 medallions. So you have Shakespeare, Wagner, Rossini, and Molière. So you have France, Italy, England, and Germany as reference for the art. So on the 40s, they removed those, they moved it to the side, and they added on the center. So now you have Cervantes and Lope de Vega as Hispanic references to art, because the National Theater in Panama didn't have any Hispanic reference to art before. Yeah, so that's one of the things that I like the most from the facade.
Very interesting.
So yeah, and then a story about the doors is 3 doors, because it's symmetry, but each door correspond to a social status. So depending on the door you enter, that used to be the case, not anymore. That door will only give you access to a specific section of the theater, so audience will not mingle. So if you're one specific, I don't know, like it's just awkward for me to talk about, like social levels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just don't feel comfortable talking about it, but that was the case. So basically, that's what happened.
Trust
so
me,
if you
I understand. I always have to talk about the gold and silver rule, always.
Well, so basically that. So if you go through the center door, you go have straight access to the platea, to the orchestra level. And then if you go to the side doors, you have access to the boxes, level 1 and level 2. And then for what we call gallinero, that is galeria, the nosebleeds, you have to enter from the sides, and those stairs don't go through the theater. So the people that goes to the last level, the seating level, is not allowed to get into the theater. You have to go through a staircase that is, the staircase is inside the theater, is inside of the building, but you don't have access to the actual theater. You can only enter to that staircase and go up, and then watch the show and go out, and then you're out in the street.
Oh wow!
And the room is designed in a way that even if you look up to look at the paintings on the ceiling, you will never see the audience that is seated on the last level. You can only see the people that is on their same level, on their same social bubble.
Very interesting. I can tell you that from the stage, you can see everybody.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
You mentioned the paintings on the roof. Maybe this is a good time to mention one of Panama's most beloved artists.
Yes, and I would love to. I didn't think of having like pictures to share with you guys here.
That's okay. We can post some pictures on our website. And I can put a picture underneath you as you're explaining the main painting on the roof of the theater. I'll do that now.
Yeah.
Perfect. So our paintings are made. We have different type of painting. Well, there's a lot of people that talk about the frescoes in the National Theater. We do not have frescoes. Frescoes is a technique where you apply the pigments on top of wet plaster. So when the plaster dries, the paint is part of the structure. That's what they did in Capilla Sixtina and the Sixtine Chapel and in Italy and France and all over Europe. There's no fresco that will that will survive Panamanian humidity. There's no way. So, but that's not the reason we didn't choose to have frescoes. We have murals that you apply the pigment on top of dry plaster, and then we have canvases. So the ones on the ceiling in the theater are canvases. They are painting, is oil on top of fabric, on top of canvas, and then the canvas is glued to the ceiling. Those paintings were done by Roberto Luis back in his study in Paris, in France. He used to be the Panamanian consul in France when we separate from Colombia in 1903. So he decided to stay in France painting there because it was better for him. So he painted those paintings from 1905 to 1907, and then they sent them to Panama on board of a ship. They arrived to Colón December 31st, 1907, and then they were transported by land from Colón to Casco Viejo. We don't know if they were transported on railroad or by road. We're not sure about that. And then they got installed here. So our ceiling is kind of like curved. It's kind of a dome, not a full dome. And it's painted, it's 15 triangular sections painted separately to look like one full on circle. And they're glued to the plaster. So that the ceiling, the structure of the ceiling is wood, and is done on concrete, and then is covered in plaster, and then the canvas is glued to the plaster. And it represents the first day of the Republic. It's the birth of the Republic.
Very interesting. Now, I remember when I took the tour, and I mean, I would like to take the tour every year if I could, just so that you could explain all these wonderful little tidbits that you're telling us. What were every part of the circular representation has its own story when you take a closer look?
Yes, it does. You know what we can do, HP?
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of virtual tours.
Okay.
Usually we do it on Fridays. We haven't done it in like probably a month and a half. We do it live through Zoom.
Okay.
I will give you an invitation. You guys can set up a tour for the people that follow you on the program and friends and family all over the place. And let me know when you want to do it. And then we do it live. I mean, we do it via Zoom. We send you a link. And then we walk through with a camera all around the building. And we talk about all the different spaces. We can do that, definitely.
Absolutely. That's an incredible invitation. Thank you, Cesar.
For sure. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure people will get they'll totally love that.
Yeah, definitely. So because it's different when you can see it, and we have pictures, and we zoom in into different sections, and it will be great. So basically, I don't know, like, do you have a picture? Can I share a picture? I don't know how to do this.
I have a picture of the whole round.
Oh, the whole ceiling?
Yeah. We can see it right now.
So the stage is underneath or it's on top?
You've walked through the doors, you're looking at the stage, and then straight up from there.
Yeah.
Okay, so across from that point of view, right above the ceiling, the thing is, like, we're not supposed to have a chandelier. Roberto Luis was always opposed to have a chandelier installed because it will block the view from his painting, and he was right. That chandelier was installed in 1974, approximately. And then the thing is, right behind the chandelier, the chandelier is set under like a wooden, we call it rosetón. It used to be the heat exhaust, like it was like a chimney. So all the heat from the room will exit through that opening in the ceiling. So when they closed it down in the 70s, when they installed the air conditioning system, and they installed the chandelier. So right next to the chandelier, above the stage, there's a star and an angel. That's Venus, the star of the morning star. Mm-hmm. And it will announce the arrival of this new day, where this new country will come into heavens, or into like celestial, in this celestial space. So you have Panama dressed in white, sitting on a golden throne right above the stage, and she has a red hat that is Gorro Frigio. It's the name. It's a French representation for the Republic. Oh, and then her cape, she has a red cape that moves on the morning breeze, and it transforms into the bandera, into our Panamanian flag. So to her side, you will see the white quadrant with the blue star, and then the red quadrant on the side. So that's her cape becoming the national flag. And then with one hand, she throws one corona de laurel. I don't know how you call it.
A bay leaf wreath, like a crown of bay leaves.
Yeah. So she's throwing that crown to Apollo, the sun god, that he's on top of his chariot, and he's with his hand moving the sun, to like he's making the day pass. So you have the morning above the stage with this new country, and then on the back of the room, right above where you were taking that picture, you have the night. So the night sky represents oppression, ignorance, and slavery. And then, so for the longest time for us, it was like the sun, the light, pushing all these bad things to the back. But then through a photographic walkthrough that we did with other artists, we have a picture of, it's a close-up of the clouds on that sky. So you can see the muses in the clouds. So for Roberto Luis, and then for the National Theater, is the art and the muses that there are the actual defense barrier between this new republic and all these threats that are there outside. So it's the art that is pushing away all this darkness. And then if you continue moving on in that direction, on the other side, opposed to the sun, you will have the fame with two trompetas, the bronze to brass trumpets, announcing with a fanfare, announcing the arrival of this new country. And right beneath fame, there's three kids climbing a tree. They're trying to reach Panama, let's say, try to reach this country, and those kids represent the future generations. So there's a lady dressed in green that is handing to them a garland made out of roses, and that's the promise of protection that this new country is giving these new generations. So that's part of the promise that we as the National Theater take to, like, with the education and art, and it's the promise for us to do better for our children, our children's children. Wow. So basically, roughly, that's the meaning of the painting on the ceiling.
I got goosebumps, man.
Me too, man. That's amazing. Even though I've seen it before, I'm sitting here looking at my phone, just looking at it like, oh my God, it's so incredible. Amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot of other details but basically that's what it means.
Wow.
It's very nice. I really enjoy explaining that painting. It's really nice. It has a lot of meaning, a lot of, for us it's very, very cool. So.
For sure.
And when I took the tour, I thanks again for that explanation. But when I took the tour, I changed it to the bottom of that painting to the top of the entrance of the stage.
Mm-hmm.
So you have Artes, and then you have the cherubs with their mouths open all around, and then you have a painted board at the top. Is that also a Roberto Luis?
Yeah, that's a Roberto Luis. That's the last painting that Roberto Luis did for the National Theater. He did several paintings for us. We have the ones on the ceiling, and then we have others on the foyer, on our room event hall on the second floor. And he painted several, like the main curtain for the National Theater was hand painted by Roberto Luis originally. It was a Roberto Luis painting 10 feet wide by 10 feet high. There's only one picture, one photograph that remains of how it looked like. There's nothing else left. And I just there's an article that TVN did for us like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they found a picture. Those pictures belong to the Colección Endara. So the Colección Endara has several pictures of the first days of the National Theater, and there's a picture I've never seen it before. That in the 3 years I have been working with this project, I saw it for the first time 15 days ago, and it's a picture of the stage with all the drops that Roberto Luis painted, and it was like arches and columns, and it's beautiful. I've never seen it before up till now.
Wow.
So that piece that you see there is also canvas, but it's mounted on wood. It's like a wood piece covered with the canvas. And I don't know if you guys can see it. Are you seeing it right now?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you have in the center, you have the harp, la lira, that represents culture. That's like the international symbol for culture because of the Greeks. But if you see the base of that harp, you will see it's a pre-Columbian mask. So basically, the base of our international cultural projection should be the culture within. So we have to look first within and understand who we are before we start showing our culture to the world. So basically that's the message there. And then you will have on the sides, you have two like hybrid female creatures. So on one side, you have one light skinned lady with red hair, like brownish hair, like looks very Spaniard. And then on the other side, you have a darker skinned lady with straight black hair that look more like an indigenous girl from Panama. So that way, Roberto Luis rinde tributo, pays tribute to our two original cultures face to face. So you have the Spanish and then our residents. I don't know how to say it properly. Or the indigenous people, and then, so in that painting you will see like that's how he, and then you will see in the rest of the paints he mixes French roses with palm trees. So he start like mixing references from Europe and Latin America on the same, and this where you can see, if you see it against the painting on the ceiling, you can see the change on his trace and his color palette. Is more Latin American in a way on the last painting, opposed to most European way on the first painting that is the ceiling.
Wow,
Incredible.
that is there is so much depth to these paintings, right? There's so much more than meets the eye when you look into it, and you know, just the messages that they were trying to transmit. And I just keep on thinking how important, you know, the culture is and was for Panama back then when the Teatro Nacional was being built. And it's something that I feel like a lot of people need to go to the Teatro Nacional and just look at these paintings and have them explained to them so that they can kind of understand how, you know, that it is important to take care of your culture and to understand where you come from. Like you said in the beginning, Cesar, we can't talk about who we are if we don't know where we've been, you know? It's
exactly.
Incredible. And Cesar, I wanted to ask you, just during the refurbishment process, how was it? I mean, how was it difficult ensuring that these pieces maintain their essence? Were you ever worried that maybe the paintings weren't gonna, like, did they receive any sort of touch-ups or anything like that?
Actually, no, because by the time I joined in the project, that was already going on. And I mean, Angela did an amazing job. She still comes from time to time just to check on everything here.
Yeah.
And she brought, her team came from Italy, from Florence, and she started working with other painters here in Panama. And the detail, the amount of detail they pay, the attention they pay to the detail, it was awesome. The thing also is in 2002, we had our third renovation kind of, because one of those sections on the ceiling fell during a rehearsal. So the theater had to be closed down. And it was closed for, I think, from 2002 to 2003, probably. And then Anton Rager was the artist in charge of restoring the paintings. And he left a lot of paperwork behind. He did a lot of research, and that was our base for this job, because he discovered that throughout the years somebody was retouching the paintings, changing colors and changing textures and pigments and stuff like that. So this time around, Angela was able to clean up everything, like remove all the varnish, remove all the extra painting, go in directly into the canvas, fix the canvas, and then restore the original pigment. So basically, this is the closest to the original painting we've been in the last 100 years.
That's incredible.
Wow.
Incredible how the technology they have just to do that. Were you able to? Did you see a before and after of the recovery of the paintings, or you came in as
yes? We do have a photographic archive of the process. So, and I've seen the work of Anton Raher before, so I know the state of the previous state of the paintings.
So
And he was very detailed about everything, and he had so little budget at that time when he did it, and so little time. So he was like very focused on, let me clean it up, protect it, and make sure that it will last X amount of years more, so somebody else can actually work on it. So that's basically what we did.
Amazing.
Very cool.
Amazing. Yeah. And one of the things that I've learned just recently is that, in our mental image of classic paintings, we see everything with a sepia sheen to it, but that's not the artist's original intention. It's a brighter color, and those layers, or the influence of time on those colors changes things. So
yeah, and most of the time it's like at the end they always, to protect it, add a little varnish on top of it, and most of the time it's that varnish the one who changes color, and that's why you see it like yellowish or brownish most of the time.
Okay, so you mentioned your favorite sculpture on the outside. Do you have a favorite Roberto Lewis painting on the inside of the theater?
Yes, I will have to say it's the night. So when you go up to the foyer, that room is inspired on Hotel de Ville in France, and the ceiling has 3 medallions. That is also like the early morning, the day, and then the night. And I will have to say, from those painting, the night is my favorite one. It's the use of, because he doesn't use black, he only uses different shades of the colors he's painting with. And then you have like the night sky, and then you have that girl floating on the night sky, and she's covered with the thinnest veil. I mean, and it looks like a veil, and it's a painting, and it's just, for me, it's incredible.
I did have that picture prepared, but somehow I can't get it to show up properly. I'll keep trying, because it's an amazing picture.
Right.
And
that's
the way
probably that's my
Yeah, I understand.
That's my favorite one.
Okay.
Cesar,
yeah.
Throughout the years, I know from the research we were doing, just preparing for having you on the show, we were reading a bit of the background of the Teatro Nacional, and yes, we were preparing. Cesar, this is very important for us.
Yeah.
Okay.
I read. He was like, "Yeah, whatever." I read that the Teatro Nacional was used for several different sort of things, including a military base of operations, or like a military headquarters.
No, that was before they built the theater. So basically, what happened is, I think is mid 1800s probably. Okay. So I don't know why, because I haven't done research on that yet. Like, the nuns that occupied the building were kicked out of Panama. They were like, "You're not allowed to be here anymore," and they moved, I think, to Peru. and the building became vacant, and then they started like a ice factory for a while,
Okay.
and then it changed. I think first, I don't recall the order right now, but I think first it was a military post for
Okay.
the Colombian uh, government,
Okay.
and then it became a hospital.
Okay.
But that was the old building.
Ah, got it. Okay. So then
That was the old building.
once it became the Teatro Nacional, they never used it then as like a cuartel or a
No.
Ah, okay.
No. That was before. That was the old building. So what happened here is, so we had the Ovaldia. Oh my God, I'm forgetting my history. So you have Manuel Amador Guerrero is our first president, but he was handpicked. He was not elected,
Right.
an elected president. So our second president, that is Ovaldia, I just cannot remember his name right now, is our first elected president. So
José Domingo.
ceremonia de José Domingo de Ovaldia.
José Domingo,
Thank you.
yeah.
José Domingo de Ovaldia. We had it in 1903. How
We
I
should
can't
know
forget.
this. We should know this.
We should know this. What's happening? So he how you ¿cómo se llama la ceremonia de
Inauguration?
His inauguration was here in the National Theater, and then from that moment on, all the president's inauguration ceremonies were here in the National Theater up until 1940s.
Incredible.
And then other event that it was like important like that, la constituyente anterior. I think this is la constituyente when we changed our constitution in 1970, 70 something, 74, I think it is. I think the new constitution was 74. It was done here.
Okay. Right.
Okay, I've got a question from Arnold Ferguson. We're getting some great audience participation. You're like, wow, I never knew that about the frescoes, always learning new stuff. Lots of shout outs for you. But we do have a little off the wall question here. Is there any like particular ghost stories or assassination
this is
stories?
the most important question. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, there's a lot of stories involving ghosts or presences.
Encantos,
here.
enchantments.
Yeah, I will have to say at first they were very quiet at the beginning in this period. So we had a story from one of our first shows. We did Refistuleros in 2019 when we just reopened, and they were quite loud. That we will feel like a lot of movement and noises and sounds, but it was like a happy sound, like happy sounds and stuff like that. So we were, like calm.
Like
we
kids
like
laughing,
kids-
or that
No,
doesn't sound happy.
no,
That
it
sounds
Like a
scary.
party.
No, it was like you can hear them, but the environment, like the vibe, was relaxed.
It wasn't menacing. It wasn't.
It was not menacing. Yeah, they were just like, and we have a couple of friends that are quite sensitive to ghosts, and they were like, we can feel them, but they're like cool. They were more like curious and stuff like that. And like every time I come here every morning, early in the morning, and I leave late night, and every time I say good morning, and every night I say good night, guys. Have a great night, and I leave. And most of the time, I know the building by memory now, so I move around the building with lights off. And most of the time, I have no problems. But there's some times that, like, I walk into a hallway, and halfway through the hallway, I'm like, No, I need to go back and turn on the lights. Like you could feel like there's something very weird in the vibe, or like I will like open a door and then like I hear like 2 or 3 doors like closing down the hallway, and I'm like, oh shit, guys, really now? Like most of the time, like you can feel if they're in a good mood. So you just keep on doing your stuff and they don't bother you. But sometimes there's something in the air and you're like, okay, you know, I'm picking up my stuff. Good night. Bye, guys. I leave you to it. Ciao. And like when we do our final round before closing the building at night, sometimes the guys come back like running because like they turn everything off, all the systems and stuff like that, and then they can hear like steps walking up and down the stairs because they're metal staircases. So like coming out from the dressing rooms, and they just lock the dressing room. So they
I have
know
a I have a
can't check.
question. I was like, since you walk around with the lights off, is it possible that you're someone else's ghost?
Uh-huh. Good question, HP.
Good
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
Good
Well,
question.
to the people listening out there, you know, I'm like a scientist. I'll walk around in a cemetery. I don't believe in ghosts, but in the theater, I do. It's a thing. They live there. They share the space with you. And like Cesar
Like me
says,
too, me too. Every time like we talk about any topic, I want scientific proof, like for anything that we talk about. But because of the things I've seen and felt throughout years and different venues, I respect them and I just give them the space and I don't want to go there. Like,
But
bye guys, see you there.
who are they, Cesar? Do you know? Like, do you know who the ghosts are?
yeah,
I
we have
don't know.
a question. Any historical accounts, bochinches that happened? That's a specific word.
Yes.
We want the
Specific word.
bochinche.
Well, I mean, before we change to the bochinches, with the ghost, I mean, we're built on top of what was a convent, and we are built on top of what was the patio of the convent, the garden of the convent. So if anything was buried in the convent, was buried in the patio.
Oh goodness.
So there's actually when I don't know how many years ago when they changed the streets from asphalt to adoquines to bricks. Outside because the plot before the block was bigger, and they decided when they started building the theater, they decided to do it smaller so the streets on the side will be wider. So the convent was outside of our construction line right now. So when they were redoing the street, they found a couple of skeletons, like bodies on the sidewalk. So there was supposed, yeah. So that was one of the reasons like we do not, because probably what we should do is for another renovation, start digging underneath the theater to have more space for rehearsal rooms and shops and deposit storage room. But I mean, the problem is like we are in a convent. So the moment you start digging in and you find something, you have to stop the whole project.
Right.
Because it becomes an archaeological site.
Definitely.
So we're like, no, you know what? We're good like this. We just leave it like that. We don't want to know.
All right. Now give us the juicy bochinche.
No, there's like not a lot of bochinches that I'm aware of. Probably the previous team that worked here about people that came. I'm aware of that, like, and during the 70s, because of the government was bringing a lot of international head of states that will come here and they will have arguments here, or they will like talk about things in the hallways, but not. I mean, nothing recently, to be completely honest. And this is a bochinche. In the last 15 years, will most likely we never saw anybody from the government stepping into the National Theater whatsoever. Like the presidential palace, in the last couple of years, it's been used quite a lot by the first lady. She's always coming. She's always checking out what we're doing and like she's always paying attention to like the cultural proposals that we have. But on the previous probably 3 governments, for sure the last 2,
Right.
there's nobody from the government coming in any of the levels.
Okay.
So I cannot give you like bochinches because they were not here.
Okay.
The culture was not interesting enough for them to bochinchear aquí.
They don't do that there.
Okay.
Do you think it'll change in the future? Like, what do you see in the future of the Teatro Nacional?
Like with,
I guess just with its importance to us here in Panama and to the governments that'll potentially come.
I'm not sure yet because I actually not paying that much attention to it. We're working in our master plan. Let me just show you. This is also, nobody sees this. This is our master plan.
Wow.
Top secret.
We call it the brain cell. This is our brain cell. So it does all our plans and stuff. So we are focused on that and trying to do more. Like our focus is to become like a cultural beacon, basically like a lighthouse, and help prepare better our talent, so we will be able to exchange talents with other countries. So that's where we're focusing. So what I can tell you is because of that, I'm pretty sure that we will become very important for the government as a tool for exchanging assets, cultural assets, probably.
Yeah.
But I cannot, because it depends. In 3 years, they will change again, and then you never know what will happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've got a question. Before we go to that question, I did find a picture of the night. So once we're done with the question, we'll take a jump back and get your artistic point of view on that. But Arnold Ferguson's asking, were there any major damages during the invasion?
Wow.
Oh, that's a great question.
It is.
Actually, it's the first time somebody asked about that. I will have to say no. There's no recollection of any incidents during the invasion. That was 89. No. Because I can tell, like, for this project, because this was the first project that will oversee at the same time the artistic aspect of the building and the structural aspect of the building. So we inspected every single inch of the building, on the basement, on the ceiling, on the walls, all the structure. We found stuff, like you could tell when things were changed during the 70s, because like if you open a wall and then you will find a plastic bag, a Coke can, or a cigarette pack that was done during the 70s. That's how it worked.
Yeah. So that's like digging in layers, right? Coca-Cola and cigarette packs, 70s.
Yeah.
Parasol.
So you could tell, we found there was a change in the materials on one wall, and it turned out that it was a window that probably in the 40s it was open, and then in the 70s was closed again when they installed the AC, and it was just covered. So during the inspection, they noticed the change in the material on the wall, and then they dig in a little deeper, and then found a Coca-Cola can, and they were like, okay, this was done during the 70s. So now we know there was a window there, and they just closed it down.
Oh, that is
on.
amazing.
Let's save your favorite picture to close the show, and let's keep going back. Let's keep going and talking about renovation. Can you take us on broad strokes of what it was like and what had to be renovated? And I don't want to jump the gun, but you brought it up to international standards of theater.
For sure.
Okay, well, the structure was quite damaged. What happened during the 70s? During the 70s was the major refurbishment of the building so far. It was more like they remodeled the building. They changed the stairs. They changed the backstage. There was a lot of changes done, but the building was still not a National Heritage Monument, so it was fine. I mean, that was done between the 1970 and 1974. The building became National Heritage Building on 1976. So anything prior to that was okay. And one thing they did is they installed the air conditioning system. And without knowing it, what they did is they accelerated the decay of the building, because the building was designed to be an open building. That's why we have so many windows and doors on the facade. And the hall on the inside was open. There was not a wall around the boxes. The boxes were separated by fabric screens and paints. So the airflow was a natural airflow, but obviously it was very hot inside. And people will always complain since the beginning in 1908 that the National Theater was quite humid and quite hot. So when they closed down the building and they added those walls on the hallways, they added the air conditioning system. So they started cooling down some areas of the building and not the other ones. So you will change the internal temperature and humidity level drastically. So your core will be colder and drier than your stairs or your hallway or your lobby, and obviously the outside. But then, more important, the el ático,
attic
above the attic, above the paintings, above the ceiling. So the attic will be very warm and humid during the day because you will receive the direct heat from the sun, and then it will try to pass on that heat to the room, but then the room was cold and dry. So that water on the air have to go somewhere. So it started going into the structure. Wow. And that's why the buildings start decaying faster and faster each year. And that's the reason in 2002, one of the paintings on the ceiling fell on the auditorium because the plaster on the ceiling was so humid that it was too fragile to support the weight of the canvas.
So you said that's part of Roberto Luis's canvas, correct?
Yeah, it was the second section, the section with the green lady giving the garland to the kids.
Wow.
I mean, how much? You said there was 15 sections. I imagine there were pie pieces or something. How was that rebuilt without, or how was that restored after?
So that restoration was the one that Anton Rager did. They just glue it back and they just put it back together and retouch it. But then you can see the seam, like they leave scars on purpose so people know that something happened there. So you can see the actual line where they glued back the canvas.
Interesting.
And the scars are left on purpose. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. So the artistic team, they finish the job. Sometimes they just take a break and then they come back and they decide which scars they will leave or which scars they will cover, because that's part of the story of the building. So people will not forget that something happened there.
We got another question from Arnold Ferguson. Sorry to interrupt you, Cesar. What has been the biggest artistic production and what has been the highest gross producing show?
I cannot say because there's no records. That's something also that we want to change from now on, like to leave an archive of everything, and we have a plan to start investigating, doing research on previous years to know what's been happening in here, because there's nothing left on archive. So I cannot tell you from this season, like from this new era. I will have to say 1903, Yeah, it was a phenomenon. Like like it was a phenomenon. But it was not only in the National Theater. I mean, it was a country phenomenon.
Yeah.
It never in. I haven't seen. It was huge. It was huge. I will not say it was the first time it happened because I remember that with Bruce earlier's productions like Evita and Jesus Christ Superstar. Like you will have like people calling and
the one of Ruben Blades too.
Maestra Vida.
Yeah, Maestra Vida. Tia Nikki said that was in her experience over what she produced. That was the first one that sold out every night.
That it was a hit.
Yeah. So, but and I'm pretty sure probably on the 20s or the 40s or the 50s, like we'll have like you will have because originally this venue will hold 1,000 guests per show. Now we only hold 653 because all the changes that we've done during throughout the years, we've been forced to reduce our capacity. But at the beginning, you could seat 1,000 people inside of the National Theater.
Amazing.
So throughout the years, we lost 100 seats. This is crazy.
And now because of the measures for the pandemic, how many people do you, for like, say you recently had a show? 300. Wow.
We're at less than 50%.
Incredible. Wow. Can you take us back on the renovation tour? We're talking about how the AC increased the deterioration of the building.
Yeah. So when we jumped back into this project, that's why we focused so much into the structure, because we knew the structure. As any other thing in Panama, we never pay attention to maintenance. So most likely this building never, structurally wise, never received proper maintenance. So that was the first thing to focus on for this project. And then that was side to side with the artistic part, but we changed the roofing, we changed the losa on top of the stage, we reinforced the terraces. We did a lot of structural work, and that was because in the theater closed in 2015. It was deemed unsuitable to be occupied by the fire department. That's why the theater closed down in 2015, and then in 2017 we started with the project.
Amazing.
And that's like, I mean, this is the brainchild of Janelle Davidson and Victor Barrios and Lizeth Condacin and Jenny Briseño and Irma Linares. That was the team. I jumped in at the end of the project. In the last 2 years of the project, they've been dealing with this for 4 years before I jumped in. So they were the ones who took care of every single detail of the project, even thinking of creating a patronato, thinking on the future of the theater.
I mean, it's really incredible, because if you think about it, I mean, there's all this history that can, in different areas, not specifically a theater, but different areas around Panama, all this rich history that goes to waste just because over the years, people just didn't really think about it, you know? And now we're in a position where we're kind of like, hey, this is us. This is who we are. We need to embrace this and preserve it, because if not, 25 years down the line, nobody's going to know. Everybody's going to forget, man.
And we've kind of forgotten the speeches of our forefathers and the paintings and the frescoes that are immortalized in the National Theater. You can't know who you are unless you know your cultural identity.
True that.
I love it. Please take us further. Onward.
Okay. So well, basically that's what we did, and then it was a massive project. It was originally, I think, it was 11.2 million. That is, for today's standards, is a small project for the government. But then, like, Agesa was the company in charge of supervising the project. That is the same company in charge of supervising the construction of Line 1 and Line 2 of the subway, of the metro. And the standards we held, our Panamanian constructor was European standards, because that's a Spanish company. So they were like, no, in the European Union, we do the things like this. And they were like, well, but here in Panama, they were like, no,
Yeah, no,
In
not
Europe,
ever.
we do things like this. So you do things like this in this project.
Excellent.
Uh, yeah, so the highest standards for this project and the way we handle materials, it was crazy. It was crazy, crazy, crazy.
How was
And
how
yeah,
was that? How did you perceive? Because having taken the tour and worked with you, you were brought you and your team and all those wonderful people you mentioned brought the Teatro Nacional into the future.
Mhm.
So where was the theater at, and what did you have to do to bring it to that standard?
so one of the things that I always say during the tours, at least on the beginnings of the tours, when we were doing the renovation still, is like this is a theater, was designed to be a theater, has never stopped being a theater, and will always be a theater. Opposite to other monuments here in Panama, that there used to be the mailbox office and now it's a museum, or used to be. So part of the challenges the theater has is because it is a national monument, it cannot keep up to date. So basically, the last renovation, actual renovation, technically wise, it received was in the 70s, and then probably it was just updating lamps and cables and stuff like that. So what we did is we talked with several theaters around the world to see what they did and how to could bring this up to date. The final decisions were made based on the budget and the fact that uh, theater project will on its diagnose said, okay, the first two things is like you don't know the word maintenance, and second, you never have money for maintenance. So anything you buy for this project, it has to be something that can rely of working by itself with no maintenance whatsoever for X amount of years. So that's the reason, because people will say, oh, but you can do automated drops. I mean, I will love to. That's my specialty. But who will keep up doing maintenance for a computer to run up? Then that you have to give them maintenance every 6 months, and probably you have to fly in somebody from outside to do maintenance. You know what I mean? Like, so all the project was like scaled down for the simple type of equipment, so anybody can keep up with maintenance with it. So basically, what major things we did is we added a lift on the orchestra pit, just to be able to close down the pit in case we are not using it, and we have we will have an apron for the stage. And every single light bulb, I love saying this, every single light bulb and light fixture in the theater is LED. Every single one of them, on the hallways, on the staircases, in the facade, and on stage. Each one of those babies on stage is probably $5,000 each one of those lamps.
Wow.
And it's just because it's last generation LED fixtures. They mix with when every other fixture mix with four colors, or my math, four colors. You have RGB and white. So you have red, green, and blue and white. These fixtures mix with seven different colors, and it's just beautiful. And they're programmed there's a function called red shift that mimics the curve of the filament on an incandescent bulb, that it goes more red as you dim it. So they mimic that type of behavior for
Incredible.
a traditional conventional fixture. But then because that will help us reduce energy consumption, but most important, it will reduce considerably heat generation. So we are able to control even better the temperature and the humidity inside of the building, because our fixtures do not generate heat.
Very cool.
Well, we got 7 minutes left. I would very gladly take you on 5 hours.
Serious.
We're reaching 2 hours.
Let's
Is
go
there
back
any?
to
Yeah,
the painting. We have to go to the painting. You want to show the painting. Cesar's favorite.
Cesar's
Oh
favorite
yeah,
paint.
the
All
night.
right, the nighttime is underneath you, and she's looking up at you right now.
Okay, so what I love the most about this painting is because that room is in the foyer. It's very bright and very warm, and this is the only painting that is cold and dark. And even if it's a dark painting, you can admire every single detail in the painting. You can see texture of the night sky and the stars shining behind the lady that is floating mid-air. But then you could see that she's wrapped on a veil, and you can see her skin through the veil, but then you can see the sky through the veil also on the parts the veil is not like is just floating around her. And then on the back of her, and there's you cannot tell if there's wings or it's just another veil. She has something on the back floating right behind her, and it's just beautiful. And the fact that is not there's not black paint or pigment into it. It's just different shades of blue and green. That's it.
Incredible.
And that's why I love that painting. It's beautiful. And then when you compare it with the rest of the painting, they're all beautiful by themselves, like by itself. But it's just this one is just unique, and that's why I really enjoy watching it and admiring it.
It is. And thank you for sharing. We got a few minutes left. Is there anything you want to pack in about the renovation or the theater, or maybe your favorite historical fact that we can share with people?
Well, I will just invite them just if just to like get in touch with you guys so we can program a full-on visit.
Yeah.
It lasts an hour and a half, and then we can talk about it because there's so much information and history behind it. I would just like to say everybody that just support the arts. The arts. We join the STEP, the theater association here. They have a campaign that is called the Consume Arte. Just consume arte. Consume art. The art is safe. Theater is safe. Culture is safe. Just respect the safety measures we all have to follow, and just go to the theater. Help. I mean, it's not just to help. I don't want to say like, come on, help me. I mean, enjoy the theater.
Yeah.
You can even say help yourself. I mean,
help yourself, man.
Nothing like art to help heal the soul after being locked in a quarantine for a year.
That's right, man.
Actually, that's what we're creating now. Flamencas de Lorca is a show based on Bernarda Alba, La Boda Bodas de Sangre, different character from Garcia Lorca's theater plays. But the spirit of the show we're creating is to energize the audience so people can relax and forget about everything that is going on outside for an hour and just have a good time and enjoy and feel grateful to be alive. And then just take that and go back home and deal with their stuff. That's basically what we're planning to do with this show.
Amen.
Amazing. Yeah, what we'll do is we'll try and get a nice crowd together. We'll stay in contact with you. You guys spread the word. Anyone who wants to go on a Zoom tour of the Teatro Nacional, like and share this show, and then put that in the comments so that we can build up enough of an audience to justify taking up an hour and a half of Cesar's very valuable time. You've heard him for 2 hours. This guy knows so much about the history of Panama and the Teatro Nacional.
That's right.
Okay, final words. Your final words, Cesar.
I don't know. I'm drained at this point, but just take care of yourself, guys. Be safe and go out. Enjoy what you can do. Relax. Go to the theaters. Go to the movies. Go to the museums. Go to see art, music. Go to a concert. Just relax. Enjoy for a couple of hours because life's quite hard lately.
It is. It is indeed.
Well, 1,000 thanks to you. It's wonderful to have you here, and it's wonderful for us to be able to share you with our audience because we know how wonderful you are, but we want them to know how wonderful you are.
And you know what, Cesar? You were nervous about your English, but man, You nailed it. Spot on.
Boom.
Seriously. You're going to be
Thank you.
doing all the talk shows in English now.
Joel, close up the show, baby. Come on.
Oh, man, I think the one thing I've been thinking about as we've been speaking throughout these past 2 hours has been culture, man, and how important it is for us and for our society. And I can only just kind of try and enhance Cesar's words, HB's words, man. We got to go out there. We got to see the theater. There's nothing like going to the theater, seeing something that you can identify with and being like, hey, that reminds me of something I did, and just taking that in and seeing that life is going on around you every day, and you got to make the most of it. So, be culturally involved, care about where you're from, and appreciate it. I think that's the only thing I got right now, man. But I think it's beautiful, and I thank you so much, Cesar, for joining us, man.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you so much, Cesar. Again, everyone, visit our website, PanamaRP.com. We're here every Sundays at 3 p.m. Support culture. That's a main pillar of a society. There's no identity without it. Go to our website, share our show, write to Cesar at his Instagram. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Please tune in next week. And if you like the show, please share it. Let's get some cultural awareness going out there. All that wonderful knowledge that we had today. Get people infected by that so that they love it and crave it.
Right.
All right. Thanks again, fellas. That's the end of the show. And you guys have
Thanks
a great
so much.
rest of the week. Thank you, Cesar.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
J-O-E in the place to be. HB on the track, it's like ecstasy. Rolling a well of 7 years, what we drink and be. Trying to sling the dopest rhymes in the galaxy. Let me take a minute though and relax your mind. Sometimes these words can be hard to find. 24/7 on that daily grind. Hearing voices in my head, man, they not that kind. Cause bitches be bitching, snitches keep snitching. The world keeps turning, and I keep hitching a ride. Instead of living my life. Yo, 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 yo.
Man, when you feel hungry, don't you have to eat?
Yo, yo, pump up the volume and digest this beat.
RapScallions in the house with this lyrical treat.
When we're done with you, you're gonna ice your feet.
If the world ends tomorrow and you had one chance,
Hey, yo, would you start the move like it's your last dance?
yo, do something small in the past and present changes.
Do something now, the future rearranges.
Cause bitches keep bitching.
Yo, snitches keep snitching.
The world keeps turning.
And you start living your life instead of hitching a ride.